This investigation is called Is There Life in There? And what it does is basically encourage students to look at 3 soil samples which we're imagining have come back from an alien world, and we're subjecting them to various forms of analysis, basically visual inspection, hydration, some biochemical food test analysis to look for the signs of any organic molecules which may be signatures for life forms. What we ask the students to do here is basically get those 3 samples, inspect them first to look for any differences in the consistency of the grain size or the grain colour or the grain texture. We then hydrate those samples with warm water to add a bit of kinetic energy, and we basically look to see what response we get back from those sand samples after hydration. And then finally we finish off by testing each of the samples for protein, for fat, for reducing sugars and for starch, 2 examples of carbohydrates. The relevance of this experiment is largely due to the fact that it mirrors the early experiments that were carried out on Mars by the Viking missions in the 1970s. The Viking missions involved a lander that was placed on the surface of Mars, and it had on board a laboratory in which it subjected various soil samples to different biochemical analysis. Now, most of the tests that were carried out on those soil samples gave no results. It was completely inert, rather like soil sample A. However, there was a lot of excitement at the time on the results that came back from one of those investigations, which was called the labelled release experiment. However, on further analysis and repeated observation, we found that we couldn't get that result again. What this tends to imply is that we've got a chemical reaction going on there. So the reactants are used up, the gas is evolved, but once the reactants are gone, there is no further reaction. This is rather like soil sample B in our experiment. The jury is out regarding Mars as to whether or not life exists there or not, and the results that came back from the Viking missions are rather inconclusive. And this is one of the reasons why we want to go back to Mars, and further investigations need to be carried out. And one of those is scheduled for 2018 as part of the European Space Agency ExoMars mission, which will land on Mars and conduct various experiments, some of which may be looking for signs of life.